colleague Lindsay and I took a previous version of this during a webinar. To say I wrote like a manual is not an exaggeration. And the people who had time to type the comments in the webinar, who are they? Well, we are using this on a daily basis. All of the documents from the conference are up on the OSUAP Buckeye Box. And I know some 30% of people are having issues accessing it. Just email Elaine or I, and we'll email it to you and find out why the medical center can't access it, because I've got no clue why. But we'll try and find out. But please help me to welcome Mandy Gagliardi.
First, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time out of your schedules to come today. Buckeye Box was released, almost 2 years ago from the OCIO. We've pushed it across campus, and we're seeing a great adoption of the technology across campus. So it's really great, and I love getting to come out and meeting people like you guys. Now, I know Tricia had said that you guys are already utilizing Box. Is there anybody that's not? All right. It's okay. I just decided it was tired and wanted to right back up. There we go. All right. The website for accessing Box is box.osu.edu. Please do not go to box.com or box.net. That's not going to work for you. We do use a single sign-on shibboleth that uses your last name .number. So technically, when you're logging in, you're logging to OSU servers first, and then logging into a third party's website. We do not own Box. We do not have instantaneous access to Box. It is basically, we lease the space from another company. That being said, Box is not a storage location. A lot of people want to use it for storage. If you do that, you are taking the risk of losing your data, because we do not back up Box. We do not have the ability to go onto their servers and go, so-and-so lost this document, let's go get it back for them. We can't do that. Yes?
I'm sorry, when I mentioned that to my dean, the person I was before, he said, well, why did they give us 50 gigs? It's intended to be storage.
No, it's intended to be
I know
collaboration.
that, but how do I convince him to not store things? If he says, you gave me 50 gigs, I must be supposed to store things on there.
Well, I would tell him, if he loses anything that's on there, we can't get it back. So if he uses it as his only storage location, he's taking the risk of losing all of that data.
I'm sure he has redundancy, but he believes because of the amount of space they gave each person that that's what's intended.
If you need to send him to the OCIO directly, to 8Help, we'd be happy to explain to him that if he does decide to go that route and use it as a storage location, security can do nothing for him. We have vetted Box, so we know that it complies to OSU's IT security policies, but even that being said, HIPAA data is not allowed in Box. Does that make sense? I know we have some medical center people here. Think of it this way. Cloud storage is accessible to anybody with a logon, in theory. If you do not want somebody to see the information inadvertently, see that information, Box is not the best place to keep it for long periods of time. If you're going to be collaborating for a week, 2 weeks, a month on information, that's a perfect place to put Box. I do have some groups that build videos across the world from one another. I actually got to speak with a bunch of archaeologists that were using Box to collaborate on a training video. Now those videos took years to collaborate on. So obviously they need to keep things in there a lot longer. But the rule of thumb is the moment not multiple people need to access the data, it needs to come down from Box. Does IT security sit there and monitor your account? Not for how long something is in there. For HIPAA data, yes, they will. And it will come down. But we don't tell you you can only have something in there for 3 weeks. You can only have something in there for 6 months. We don't do that. But that's the rule of thumb, and that's something else you might want to tell your supervisor. What's collaboration? Anybody?
When you're working with someone else.
When you're working with someone else, whether I'm collaborating with you here in the classroom, or we're located thousands of miles away and we're trying to collaborate. It means we're trying to work together, and that's what Box is supposed to help you accomplish. So again, the website is box.osu.edu. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how to log into Box. Since the majority of you are already using Box, I will not show you how to create your Box account. For those of you that do not know how to create your Box account, please see me after the session, and I would be happy to walk you through the process. I'm going to show you how to log in. I'm going to show you how to upload files. I'm going to show you how to create folders. I'm going to show you how to collaborate with other people. There is so much to Box, I could spend 4 to 6 hours going over Box with you. That being said, if you feel you need something a little more in-depth, again, please feel free to get with me after the session today, and I'd be happy to set something else up with you on an individual basis, or more likely departmental level basis. We don't do one-on-one training, but I'd be happy to at least talk things over with you or set something up for your department. And if we get to do more, even better. Okay, that's what I'm going to try to get through today. All right, so when we go to box.osu.edu, this brings you to our Buckeye Box landing page. This has a lot of valuable information on it. People see the cloud and the login button, and that's the first thing that they go to, and they kind of ignore the rest of the page. I've written a number of knowledge base articles that are incorporated on this main landing page. If you scroll down, we've got a bulleted list here that will tell you how to, or it'll tell us more about Buckeye Box. It will tell you comparisons. That's a big one I get from people all the time. Well, I'm using Google Drive. I like it better. All right, that's fine. But Google Drive has not vetted our security. So if you're using it, you're going against what security has told you to do, for one. Two, we can't help you with it at all, and we won't provide training, and you also get a minuscule amount of space compared to what we give you. But that document will tell you some of the different differences that we have. The knowledge base for help and tutorials, and you can also read through a knowledge base article on what you can do in addition to using Buckeye Box. What can you do to help keep your data secure on Box? Like Trisha asking me if she's going to be logged out when I closed her laptop. That's a good thing. All right, to log into Box, we click the login button, and you'll be brought to this nice little landing page where you're going to have to click continue. All right, and then you will be brought to our single sign-on screen. This requires the use of your last name, number, and password. If you do not know your password, you can visit the account management website located at my.osu.edu and walk through the forgot password link, or you can call A-Help and they can help you reset your password. It depends on whether you remember your security questions or not. I don't know many people that do. Now, once you successfully log into your Box account, your screen is not going to look the same as mine. The basic layout will be the same, but this entire area right here is going to look different. This is called our files and folder area, and this shows you all of the different files and folders that you have access to. Not that you own, not that the person sitting next to you owns, but what you have access to. That means they could be your folders, or you could have been invited to participate in the document or the folder, and we call those collaborators. Now, going through the navigation, I'm going to go through the main nav post across the top. The first button here is the messages button. This will show you any messages or tasks that have been assigned to you through Box, through Buckeye Box. Because you can email people through Buckeye Box and say, hey, I just posted this document, can you review it? There's other ways to do that too, but. How many of you Facebook? Anybody? Yay. More all the time. Whenever you log into Facebook and you look at the top, you've got the little button with the number and it tells you how many updates you have. It's the same concept here with Buckeye Box. I'm actually quite surprised. I must have been logged into Buckeye Box earlier that I don't have any updates. But it will tell you how many updates you have, 2, 5, 10. And what that is what has happened in Box since the last time you logged in. Have people uploaded files? Have they previewed files? Have they downloaded them? Have they deleted them? If you click on this button, this is one of the first things that I do when I'm working on a massive project, is it shows you exactly what has occurred in your Box account since the last time you've logged in. Or actually, not even the last time you've logged in, just forever. You can scroll down through the list. It's hard to see this way. I'm gonna have to look this way. I can see that Carolyn Konicki uploaded a document, and Megan downloaded a document, and Jessica uploaded documents. So you can see exactly what they did. You can also see the blue circle with arrows. Do you guys see what that is? That's Sync. That's a helper application that you can download and install on your computer, which will allow you to specify a folder on your computer that automatically synchronizes back to your Box account. So you don't have to go through the manual process of uploading and downloading the files. It's a great tool to use. We don't have time to go over it today, of course, but you can look through the knowledge base articles, call 8HELP, they'll even help you set it up. The only problem with Box Sync is that it is not ADA compliant, 100%. So if you do know somebody that's trying to use it and they have a screen reader, it does not work properly, and you will have to call 8HELP, and they can help you make it work the way that it's supposed to. Right now, this is showing me updates for everything that has occurred, but what if I'm interested in, uploads or downloads or previews? So I could go ahead and click the All link up at the top to the right of recent updates, and that drops open a list, a little menu item that shows you the different things that you can view as your updates. Let's take a look at downloaded. This is my favorite. People tell me, oh, I didn't see that. Well, yes, you did. I'm sorry if you didn't pay attention, but you downloaded it on May 5th at 2:15 in the afternoon. So you can see exactly when somebody has looked at your documents. Right, the next button across the top, this is a shortcut button back to your files and folders. Brings you back to the main page we were just at a moment ago. Just so you know, Buckeye Box in the corner, the words, it'll do that too, shortcuts. Right, the next button is People. Oh, see, now I have a 5. The People button shows you who you are collaborating with. The only thing that drives me crazy is it's not organized by last name, number. I hate to say it, but I think of most people, unless I work with them on a daily basis, I think of them as their last name, number, because that's how we email them, that's how we look them up on the link, that's how we interact when we're not one-on-one with somebody. So that does frustrate me a little bit. But you do have a listing of everybody that you are collaborating with. You can also see where you are collaborating with them. So Erin Minnick, I am collaborating in the upgrade planning folder. And I scroll down through. Anna Wilkinson, user acceptance testing. These are all folders that I have access to. And Helms, our connection circuit. The next button is apps. We support Box. Box is not the only application that you have to work in when it comes to cloud storage. We have Box, which is the collaboration utility. There's Box Mobile, which allows you to access your Box account on a mobile device, such as an iPad, or any other type of tablet, or your phone. Please keep in mind, editing a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation on an iPad is not recommended. We usually will access our Box account to look at documents in our Box account. I'll use it for agendas. So I will put a PDF version of an agenda that I'm scheduled to run, and I'll put that in Box. So people can look at the agenda while they're in the meeting, but not necessarily be editing the document. But that's not it. There's Box Sync, which I mentioned, and then there's others. Let's see, what else do we have? Trying to remember what, Cloud On. That was another one, Cloud On. Cloud On does allow you to edit documents through Box on a mobile device, and it has been vetted by IT security. If you run across an application that you see interacts with your Box account, you're like, hey, that would be helpful for my department to use or for me to use. Don't just download it and try to use it, because again, it hasn't been vetted through our security. Contact a help, IT service desk, tell them you want to use it, they'll send it to security, and security will vet it. We've had, I think, 9 applications that have been released by IT security that say, yes, you can use these with Box. If you want to know more about those when we're done, let me know, and I'll show you some of the different apps we have. In the upper right-hand corner, you have a link with your name. This is called your Box profile. If you click on it, this will allow you to see your Box profile and make changes to your Box profile. Maybe. There we go. You can upload a picture. Yeah, I know I don't look anything like that anymore. This is my natural hair color. But you can change things such as your title. These are not a direct feed from our gal or anything like that. So you can make those modifications. Do not change your email address though, okay? Leave it at your enterprise account. You can also see everything that you have done. That uploaded documents, previewed documents. One mistake that I see a lot of people do is, remember the first thing I said, don't go to box.com, don't go to box.net, go to box.osu.edu. They go to box.com, they go to box.net, and then they set up their account using their OSU email address, and then they can't figure out why they only have 5 gigs worth of space, and it's all blue, and it's not gray and scarlet like, or excuse me, scarlet and gray, like everybody else's that they've seen. And what they've done is they've created a personal Box account. To make certain that you have not done that, you can easily go to your profile, and on the right-hand side of the screen, it tells you account details. It should say enterprise account, and it should tell you you have 50 gigs worth of space. Oh, one other benefit to using Box that Google Drive and the rest of them don't have, we only count what you upload towards your used space. With the other ones, it's all inclusive. If you're collaborating on a 5 gig document, guess what? It's going to use up your 5 gig, even if you didn't upload it. Box, we don't do that. Also from here, you can go to help, and what this will do is it doesn't bring you to our help page, unfortunately. It brings you to Box's website for help. Wow, I can't talk today. I'm not saying that it's not helpful. It is very helpful. I've learned a lot of things about Box, especially with all the changes. It's like every week they're pushing out a new update to Box. But it's not specific to OSU. So you have to keep that in the back of your mind as you're reading through the help files. The big thing I use their help site for is to find out what's coming next. Because people are constantly asking me, oh, well, it would be really great if Box did this. Or it'd be really awesome if Box actually worked this way. And if you go to their website, they will tell you the things that they're working on in the next releases. All right, you also have a gear in the upper right-hand corner. We click on that. This will allow you to edit and also view your profile. You have the ability to go into account settings. You can download Box Sync. You can also get help and get their online training. Great videos, by the way, but again, not specific to OSU. I'm going to go ahead and go quickly into account settings, just to show you some of the different things that you can modify and the things that you can't. Don't change anything on this page. That's a pretty easy rule. Main page of settings, don't change anything. Even though it looks like you can, you shouldn't. Our Box administrator is Mr. Brant Thomas of OCIO, and he's got a fancy little picture there too. Profile is another place where you can change some of that information that you see on your profile. Security, this tells me what devices I've logged in from and where. I have left myself logged into devices many times. And this is another way of making certain that I log myself out. I force a refresh on a machine in a classroom somewhere, because I can tell it to forget that device, forget that app. And I love, like, I'm stationed in Baker right now, and if I'm on the 4th floor, I'm in Columbus. But if I'm on the 5th floor, I'm in Dublin for locations. No idea why. Content and sharing. You can share things with people without inviting them to be collaborators. What you do is you kind of just send them a link that they click on, and it shows them the document. The benefit of that is they don't have to have a Box account. You don't have to track anything. You don't have to really pay attention to them. It's kind of more of an FYI. The drawback is it doesn't really track anything. They're not part of OSU or any enterprise account that you can track that. So always collaborate whenever possible. If you can collaborate, that's a preferred method. Also, links expire after, I want to say 6 months, but I would have to look again. They keep changing that. It was 3 and 6 and then 5. I think it's back to 6. So I will show you how to do those as well. Notifications. These should be the default settings. I like to leave mine at default. You will be notified when things happen, and we have 2 types of notifications. We've got real-time notifications, just like when you're working in Outlook, and you get this little message that pops up in the corner, so-and-so has uploaded a document to such and such folder, or somebody has previewed. And then you also have email messages. And right now, I have it set up that I will be notified whenever somebody comments or deletes in folders that I own, which nobody can. I don't allow anybody to delete anything in any of my folders. It's a personal preference. If you want to share that responsibility, that's great. I have learned, though, you do have more than a month to get something out of the trash can. So if somebody does delete it, the possibility of getting it back is there. And also, if anybody comments in a folder that I've joined. Now, you can feel free to turn more of these on, but remember, the more you turn on, the more notifications you're going to get in the lower right-hand corner. Some people find them annoying. And the more you turn off, the less notifications you're going to get. You will still always get your update at the top, though. You also can control the emails. You have your newsletter. It comes daily. Every morning at around 7 o'clock in the morning, I get a daily digest of, this has happened in your Box account. I delete it. In all honesty, I do, because I'm logging into Box at least 4 to 5 times a day at this point. And then you also have the newsletter itself, this one right here. This is, I want to say monthly. I can't say I've gotten more than 2 a month about what's going on. What is Box about to do? What's about to be released? What is broken? I hate to say that, but sometimes things break. They find bugs, and they will release that information as well. It's a great newsletter to keep on, and I would recommend reading at least 1 month. And then you can also control the real-time notifications and how many of them you get. This is done through this drop-down box. You have all notifications, most notifications, some notifications, important notifications, or no notifications. I can't tell you the difference between some and most. I just don't know. I know that as you go down through the list, you get less notifications. Yep. All right, so that's the basic environment of Box, but you can navigate through Box all day long if you can't put things in it and edit those things and share them. Kind of useless because it is a collaboration tool. Taking a look at the screen here, you might notice that some of my folders in the list look different from one another. I have a big old yellow folder there called Personal. And then I have a bunch of blue folders there that are blue with little heads on them. And then I also have one down here with those blue chasing arrows on them again. You can look at these icons and they will tell you things about the folders that you're working with. Does anybody want to take a wild shot in the dark why one folder would be yellow and one would be blue? Collaborations. One is not collaborative. That's 100% correct. My documents folder, is it documents or documentation? was like, I don't have a documents folder. Documentation is not shared, but all of the other folders that you see are shared. They have collaborators that are part of them. If you click on the name of a folder, that will go into the folder. Here, I'll use this one because I just created it. When you go into a folder, you can see who the collaborators are in the folder on the right-hand side. You can also see who the owner of that folder is. You can see what permissions someone has as well. So Herbert, we call him Luke. Poor guy, Herbert. But anyway, if I hover over his name, this tells me a little bit about that collaborator. I can see the email address. I can take a look at their profile. I can email them through Box. And I can also change their access level. Now, access level is what somebody can and cannot do in a folder. As you move down from folder to folder to folder to folder, you will have what we call breadcrumb trail navigation across the top, because it's like leaving a little breadcrumb trail where you're going or where you've been. And you can use that to navigate. So if I click on all files, that brings me right back to the beginning. I'm going to go in my documentation folder real quick. Now that's not a shared folder, right? It's not collaborative. But folders inside of a non-shared folder can be collaborative folders. So just because documentation is not shared doesn't mean that folders inside are not. And it is a trickle-down permissions. So if you give somebody access at the top level, they will have access to everything underneath. So you give somebody access to the lowest level that they need. Example, Brian Zieber and I were working on the employee roll-on, roll-off, and he needed to collaborate with me on a document in that. And then the other one is CIC documentation, Dave Hamilton. I was collaborating with him. Now I wanted to keep everything, all of my documentation in one folder, but I don't want Dave to see roll-on, roll-off, and I don't want Brian to see CIC because it's irrelevant to them. So by putting them inside a non-shared folder called documentation, I can then control their level on each individual folder underneath. So Brian only has access to roll-on, roll-off, and Dave only has access to CIC. And I'll show you that by clicking on the folder. We go into roll-on, roll-off. See Brian and Steve on the other side there. I go back to documentation. I go into CIC. And that's everybody that's in that folder. I don't want it. How can you create a folder? You want to come up with a very good structure. That's the most important part about setting up your Box account. What's going to work for me? Well, creating folders is relatively easy. You have a new button here up at the top. You click it, and then you choose folder. There are other options, but we're going to do a new folder right now. Right, this allows you to give your folder a name. It also allows you to specify collaboration. I work in marketing, communications, and training. That's my department. And I have this happen to me quite often. People want to collaborate with me on their training documentation, and then they create a folder and they call it training. And when I'm working with 10 different people on training projects, having 10 folders named training is not helpful. And I've done it too. I had a folder called presentations, and I collaborated with another instructor, and they're like, what presentation? I do break my own rules, but keep your naming as clear as possible. Think of it, it's going to appear in a big old list, and you've got no idea what other people are going to see. I'm going to call this one alumni training. Only because I'm here. And at this point, I'm going to keep the folder private. No one else is going to own this folder. Click OK. Folder's created. It's that simple. Any questions on creating a folder? I don't think so. Here comes the hard part. Now, how do I invite people to collaborate with me on that folder? You'll notice that on the right-hand side of each of the items in the list, when you hover, you have some buttons. One is share, which is one way of sending out collaboration. The next button is a menu button, and then the last button is a checkbox. We're gonna start with that checkbox real quick because there's not a lot to do. When you put the checkbox on, you will have a menu bar that kind of just pops up at the top. It's so easily overlooked. Many people don't even realize that it appears. It's also not the clearest navigation. I'm not a huge fan of this update. But you can hover over the buttons and it will tell you what they do. So the first button is download, and yes, you have an email so you can send that folder to somebody. You can tag it. Tagging is for searching, all right? For example, I was working on the CIC 4.0 upgrade that we're deploying across campus in OCIO. So I've got training documentation that like 8 different people are collaborating on, different folders all over the place. Instead of trying to get people to follow my organization structure, I let them do what they want to do, but every document I tag with CIC. And that way if I need to find them, I just search for CIC, and they'll all appear in the list. It's like hashtagging in Twitter, and I guess Facebook lets you hashtag too. It makes me mad. I don't like
You'll
it.
see the tag on the folder name when you.
Only when you search. When you search. Now, if you search, it will also search names of documents. So if that tag is in the name, you don't have to tag it twice. Like if I have a folder called CIC documentation, I'm not going to tag everything in there with the words CIC. This helps me with people that don't provide clear naming on their folders. All right, but like I said, sometimes this navigation bar is not the easiest to use. I prefer the menu because the menu is very clear and it shows me everything that I can do at once, which is very important when you're working quickly. From this menu, you can open the document. You can download the document. We're dealing with a folder, pardon me. You can open the folder. You can download the folder. There are other upload options for uploading things into the folder. You can share the folder. You can add it and edit tags. You can synchronize this. That means you already have Box Sync installed, and you're just saying, make this one of those folders. You have properties. You can move or copy the folder. You can delete. And under more action items, they have something called Chatter. This is an instant messaging application that can be used in Box. We're not going to be implementing it. You guys know we're rolling out Link, so we wouldn't utilize something else. All right. So let's share this out. If I go to share, I have the ability to invite collaborators. All you need to do is specify the last name number of the person you would like to collaborate with. I'm going to collaborate. Oh, I know who. Okay, cute. I like collaborating with her because I know she has automatically accept collaboration requests on, so I don't have to wait. But as you start typing in the user's last name, you'll notice that a list will appear. Box is connected to the global address list of our email system. So as you start typing, you're going to see people from that address book. Also, Box will populate or auto-populate with users that you have already collaborated with. Let me show you that one. So here we've got Kate, and we're going to type in just Mandy. You see that there are 3 results. There is Mandy Agnew. I don't know who that person is. Mandy Dunn works over in the OCIO as well. We're the Mandys. A lot of people confuse us, but I do nothing with email, which is what she does. And then you'll see Mandy Gagliardi, but it's not Gagliardi.20. You'll see it says mandymg@gmail.com. That's my personal Box account. And I always have a personal Box account, even when I have even though I have my enterprise account, because it's a back door. When you leave the university, we lock down your Box account. You do not retain access to it. Doesn't matter if you retire or you leave of your own volition. Once your affiliation with the university is gone, then access to Box is gone.
Emeritus?
Yes. Unless they're given a guest account, because some emeritus are actually provided guest access. And if they're given guest access, then they're treated no differently than a contractor that's still working here. So then they would retain access. With that being said, one of the things that I will do is I will make my personal Box account a collaborator in the folders, and that way I can still get in and get my documents out if I need to. We actually tell people how to do that, and we have a knowledge-based article on how to do that for our students, so they don't lose their information. Now, when you are inviting people, you're not just saying, hey, come collaborate with me. You're saying, come collaborate with me, and I'm going to let you do this, by giving them permission levels. The default permission level or access level in any folder is editor. And then there's previewer uploader, viewer uploader, owner, co-owner, there's a lot. You can specify any one of those access levels. Now, if you looked at me and said, well, what's the difference between a viewer and a previewer? I actually could tell you what they are, but you won't remember unless you do it all the time. We have a little information bubble there that when you hover over it will pop up and it will tell you what these people can do versus other people. So I can see that a co-owner can do everything. There's only one thing a co-owner cannot do, and that's kick out an owner. So they can't just take over. Editors can do everything. I mean, they're just like an owner, except they can't make other people owners. There's one other thing. The other difference between previewer and viewer is printing capability from the preview screen. If you are just a previewer, you cannot print from the preview screen, which I haven't shown you yet, but you'll get to see it in a minute. That's a note you might want to make because it's not documented anywhere. That's something I've just found out over the last 2 years. So I'm going to leave everybody as an editor. Now, if I wanted Kate to be an owner and Mandy Gagliardi, or Mandy MG, as it's listed there, to be an editor, I would need to invite them separately. I'd have to do 2 steps. Okay. I send, boom, it goes up. Perfect. So now my alumni training folder, my list of folders is getting way too long. Now you'll see that the folder is blue. Going into the folder, I can see who is a collaborator. Now, I want you to take a look at my collaboration list. And do you notice something a little off about those collaborators? Yeah, there's a clock to the right of Mandy Gagliardi. Anytime you collaborate with somebody that is not part of OSU, their collaboration will expire after 6 months. You can extend that. There's no problem. You can go in and you can extend their access. But by default, it will expire every 6 months. Yes?
Can only the owner extend access, or can the editor do that as well?
Only the owners. Let me double check on that, because that was something Box was saying they were going to modify.
I'm asking because we have access about to expire, and my boss, who is the owner, is on vacation.
That's awful. And you're just an editor? Let me check on that and I'll get back to you. Remind me when we're done.
Okay.
So if you, that brings up another point though. If you're collaborating with somebody and you're like, they're part of OSU, but there's a clock, that means you're looking at somebody that did not activate their Box account properly. And they have a personal account that they're dealing with, and that's somebody you'll want to contact outside of Box and say, hey, did you know? Because you also don't want, you really don't want a lot of personal accounts accessing a folder that's going to have sensitive data on it. I mean, we can protect you. There's only just so much we can do if you're opening it up to the world. All right, you can also create new items directly inside of Box. I hate using that term, that's what Box uses. Through Box. Through is a better way of looking at it. So what happens is I want to create a new Word document. I say, new Word document. Box goes ahead and opens up Microsoft Word for me. Let me show you. I say, new. And it only works right now with Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. I'm not saying that at some other point in time there won't be others, but right now this only works with these three. So I say new Word document. That's not what I tried to do. There we go. Got to give it a name. So here I have my new document, and I can lock it if I want to prevent other people from editing it. Box, by the way, at this point in time is not a real-time collaboration tool. Don't use it that way. People have tried and they end up overwriting each other's stuff and they don't understand why, because it's not real-time yet. There are alternatives for that. Google does have that capability, which we don't yet. We will. But you can real-time collaborate in Link. So with Link and then upload files if you have to do real-time. So you can see the notification message here that it's opening the document from Box. Test 1. And I'm going to save the document. So I'm going here, just saving it. And it's going to tell me, save back to Box. Then I'm going to do this, test 2. I'm going to save it. And save it back to Box. You guys are sure about that? Okay, look, there's my Microsoft Word document. Here's one big problem with that. What did I tell you Box is not supposed to be used for? Storage. Where's the only place this document exists now? Box. Yeah. So if you are going to utilize this feature, I do recommend that you remember to download the most recent copy of it so you have your locally stored copy, or that you do it in a folder that's Box synced, so then it will automatically synchronize back down to your computer. All right, questions about creating a new document in Box? How often are you going to do that? It depends on how you work. Here's how I usually work. People hand me documents, I look at them and I go, I modify them, and then I upload them to Box. I don't ever go to Box and say, I'm going to create a brand new document in here. That's not standard practice for me, and it shouldn't be for you because of that storage thing. So how do I get files that already exist into Box? If you are using an updated browser, which I hope most of you are, it's as simple as dragging and dropping. So, I can tell you with full confidence that the last 5 or 6 versions of Google Chrome, it works perfectly. The last 2 versions of Mozilla Firefox, it works beautifully. Internet Explorer 9 and 10, fantastic. Anything earlier than 9, not going to happen. Okay, you cannot drag and drop. And anything earlier than the last 2 of Firefox, and it's hard to keep up. What are they on, version like 2200 or something? Look at the last 2 are the only ones that support the drag and drop. So I'm going to show you how to upload and also how to drag and drop. If I need to upload a file into this folder, or into any folder, you first navigate to the folder you want to upload to. So I'm in the alumni training folder. I'm going to go ahead and upload a file. I go to the upload button, and I can upload either files, or if I need to upload multiple files that are in a folder, I can upload the entire folder. Again, older browsers have a very hard time uploading folders. And I know that some of you may have to use Internet Explorer. We have some that have to use 7 still.
7 for HR stuff and some payroll stuff. That sounds really
I think payroll's all been up to 8. Not yet.
good.
One of them
You
has.
have to cheat. You have to cheat.
Let's just leave it. I'm working on the HR re-implementation project. I'm so sorry for everyone who has to be on 7 and 8. It's horrible. So if you have a newer browser though, uploading an entire folder, it works just fine. So, and I tell people that tell me, well, I have to use Internet Explorer 7 or I have to use Internet Explorer 8. That's fine, you can. There's no reason you can't also have Google Chrome or Firefox on your computer for everything that's not PeopleSoft. All right, so if we go to upload files, it's very simple. It's just a matter of navigating to where the file is and saying, hey, upload it. Here, I'll put this one up there, just because I have no idea what it is. There, it was uploaded. It's all done. It's that fast. If you have a lot of folders, you will, or a lot of files, you will get a progress bar across the bottom. That was just too fast. And then, of course, I prefer to just drag and drop. Yeah, she's not so little anymore. She's going to be 8. I was feeling nostalgic the other day. All right, so let me see. I got to have something simple but have a lot of information. Oh, here's a folder. Another Luke folder. We do a lot of work together. So I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to drag it over. You want to watch where you get that blue highlight, because if you want it to go into another folder, you want to make certain you're on just that folder. If you want it to go into the folder you're currently part of, you make certain it's the big blue area. And does that make sense? And so I drag it in.
Yeah.
Whoopsie.
What browser am I in? What did I open? Oh, Firefox. Huh. Interesting. I just updated it and I knew not to. So 2 versions ago, Firefox worked fine. And I know for a fact it works beautifully in Google Chrome.
I can still get it to work in Chrome.
It actually works well in Chrome.
But that's also what
Used to be Chrome was the only browser I would work in with Box, because it was the only one that supported everything. So let's see. Here I've got 3 files selected. Let me see if it'll do that. There, that'll work. And also, if at any point in time you do try to drag an entire folder over, sometimes you'll get that error message. Most of the time you shouldn't if it's small enough. But if you do, just use the upload button and say upload folder. That actually uses a Java applet that you would need. If it's an OSU machine, it should have Java installed. There. If it doesn't, then you would actually need to talk to your IT department.
I think I still had it on there. I think so. I just do highlight all the ones.
Driving that lens. I'm a control freak, so I kind of like to do it that way anyway. All right, but then they're all uploaded. Okay? And don't ever say, I'll never admit that I said that I was a control freak. My boyfriend tells me that all the time, and I go, no, I'm not. All right, deleting. Here's the easiest way to delete. You can put check marks and click the delete button. That's that trash can.
Whoops.
Anything you delete will go to the trash can. You can always get to the trash can by clicking on the trash link on the right-hand side of the screen. And you have about a month to get anything out of there that was deleted. Now, another reason that I love using Box, I collaborate with a lot of different people, and everybody has their 2 cents that they want to add. And I appreciate everybody's feedback. But sometimes you have people that tell you, no, it needs to go this way, and somebody else is saying, no, it needs to go this way. And then you even have a third person that goes, no, I think it should be like this. Box does versioning for you without you having to save off multiple versions. I just created that testing document, remember, and I typed in test 1, saved it, test 2, saved it, test 3, saved it. That's 4 different versions of the document. If you take a look at the file list, right underneath the title of the document, you'll see a little blue square with a number in it. Should it say 4? Yes, it should say 4. Because I have 4 versions of that document that I created. I have the blank page, then test 1, then test 1 and test 2, and then test 1, test 2, test 3. Make sense? So you can see your version. If I click on that little V4, this opens up the version history window. And I can see each of the different versions. I'm just going to let you know that it's screaming low battery. You can see all the different versions that you have saved up to Box. This is helpful if I have to step backwards, and I have had to do it. There's been many times people have said, no, remember what we were talking about back in April? That's what I want to do. So I can go back and I can download any one of these versions. I can make any one of those previous versions the most current version. Yes, there is an X to the right of the versions. That does not delete the version. It just makes it disappear from the list, okay? You cannot delete a version. For some departments that I've worked with, that has become troublesome. They're like, well, wait a second, because then it's all public record. You know, we have to be careful with public records and things like that. So, if you need to get rid of all versions of a document, guess what you need to do? You need to delete the entire document and then upload the only version of it. Okay? With a document this small, that's really not that big of a deal. But when you're working with much larger documents and documents that have been around for a long time, how many do I have going on here? Oh, there's only 25 versions in this one. So I like going to this document. There was a lot of people going back and forth. But you can see all my different versions. And I could go all the way back to version 1 if I needed to. Okay. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Yes.
How come for like the documentation folder in there, why don't you just put them in right here?
Because I didn't want this to happen, what has happened.
Oh.
You're presented with everything you have access to, so anything that's really mine, I try to keep it as organized as possible. And that's the only
Gotcha,
thing.
that wasn't clear.
Any other questions? Yes.
If you have like so many documents like this, and you want to start creating folders after your documents are already uploaded, then you just create a folder and drag and drop this.
Yep, and I can do that. It's pretty simple. So I can go to new. Drag your personal right into the Mandy folder. And it's organize away. Have a happy with it. Because I don't want you to get like I am. I'm overwhelmed right now. Yes.
Is there an undo?
In what regard?
Just undo.
There are some things we can easily undo, and there's other things that we can't. Moving, that's fine. Granting access to a folder, no. You would need to actually revoke their access manually. So that's a good question.
Can you sort that list?
Yes, and they keep moving it. They keep moving how you sort, so. I think it's in settings now. See, it used to be right here, and they keep moving things. It's the only problem with working with a web-based app. They change stuff, and you don't always catch it. I usually just filter if I want something, but I know there was a way to. Did somebody find it? She wants to change. She wants to sort through there.
Oh, yeah.
And they moved it on me, and, because it used to be right with the filter. Oh, here it is. View options.
Oh, that's nice.
Date, size. You can also do icon view. I did not know that you could do icon view for like the first 2 months I was working with Box. And I went to go help somebody with their computer and was completely flabbergasted. It's like, your box is broken. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is. It's not supposed to look like that. And he's like, I just made it show icons. Okay. You would think the trainer would know that. But yeah, it's the eyeball. And I can't leave it like that because it'll freak me out when I go back to my desk. So.
That's why it's not cost.
Oh, and going along with that, I do want to step back just for a moment. And in account settings, you can decide how many items appear on a page before they have to go to the next page.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
guess I could do 50. That's when I know I'm getting overwhelmed. I have it at 20, and if I've got a page 2, it drives me crazy. I don't want to have a page 2. Oh, and also another big thing to point out on this screen is when you are collaborating with people that are not part of the university, you can easily see that you have links that are going to disable. Bright red text right there. Now, you can't easily see who it is, but you could go into the folder then and then look for the little alarm clock on the right-hand side of their names.
Can everybody print from here?
It depends upon their permission level. Okay? Which brings up a good point. I did not show you their new preview. I forgot to do that. So let me show you their new preview. So when you click on a document, a lot of people don't like it, but I love it compared to the old one. Yeah, because we're used to the old way of previewing, which used flash paper and it was a little tiny square. And this is, I do like this because it does allow me to see everything. So it is a brand new preview window. They are updating this. There's constantly changes being made to this. It works well on just about every browser I've tested it on, including Safari and the iPad. So if you try to use the website versus the mobile app on an iPad, it actually works pretty well. If you want to, from inside the document, there are things that you can do to the document. You can edit the document from here. So let's say I want to add test 4. Up at the top, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a pencil. And this pencil, edit this document. Click on it, and it's going to go ahead and open it up in Word. A lot of people say you can edit documents directly in Box. Technically, that's not true. You edit them through Box. And then the benefit is I put test 4, I save it, I close it. Take a second. Oh, there it is. And then it will pop up at the top and say, hey, there's a newer version. That is new. It used to just update. Now you do have to specify yes or no. Then it will generate your preview. Sometimes it takes longer than others. There's your test 4. You can also download the document from here, which at this point I would do. If this was really a document that I was working on and I'm like, all right, I'm done, I would download a copy of this because I don't have a local copy.
Box Sync doesn't save it to the box that you might have on your, there's no box on your computer. Box Sync is just a tool, right?
No, Box Sync is, what it does is it allows you to specify a folder on your computer and a folder on your Box account that automatically synchronize. So there is a folder, it's actually called Box Files. I can show you real quick.
Does it have Box Sync, is it you download it, or does it keep it on the folder on Box?
Both. It's synchronized. So it's going to be in both places. But you have to tell it to sync. It's not an automatic. And you do that by running Box Sync itself. Here's the application. This is the folder that holds everything. See my books folder
Can
and
you
my...
set that to do automatic sync every morning at a certain time?
You know, they just released a new version of Box Sync, and I think you can. It's not one of our, standard apps. We support it, but they've been updating it, and it just syncs. So, yeah, I have mine set up to automatically sync. Or whatever, I'll rephrase that. The help desk has mine set up to automatically sync. All right, back to what I was showing you though. Well, you can do printable versions. You can download it and print it. It's up to you.
You had a file on that desktop that said My Box Files,
Box creates that.
because I think I'm missing some of my files someplace and I just don't know where they are.
You can download.
Yeah, that's a good thing, but call the service desk, okay? 8Help is really good when it comes to boxing. The reason is because, as I said before, it's not handicap compliant, so we have to field all of those calls from all students and any professors that do need to use screen readers, and it's actually a larger group than I ever thought there was. So what they actually have to do is to make it compliant, it's not really making it compliant, they have to remote connect to their machine and do the box sync themselves. So the service desk technicians are very fluent in sync. They'll be able to help you find your missing files. You're welcome. And back to our preview. From here, we have our ellipse button up at the top, and that really opens up a menu. This allows you to do other things with the document, such as upload a new version. You can also just upload a new version by putting another document in the same folder with the same exact name. It's going to see it as a new version. You can lock the file so no one else can download it or modify it in any way. You can move or copy it. I prefer to drag and drop. You can delete the file. You can also get a printable version of the document. So what this really does is it opens it up in another tab like this. Opens it in another tab, renders it, and then you have a print button. So it's another step. It's better than it used to be. Then you can also see file properties. These file properties will tell you a little bit about the document. Descriptions are helpful if you do a lot of collaboration, because like I said, training, not very descriptive. And also from the preview, you can navigate between different files that are inside the folder. So up at the top, I can see 1 of 2. That's because I'm looking at the first file out of 2 that are in the folder. And I can use these arrows to navigate between the documents. Oh, there's nothing in testing. Documents can also have comments attached to them. Just like pictures. Oh, to close preview, use the X in the upper right-hand corner. Not all the way at the top, that's going to close your browser. Just the big X right here. And folders can also have comments on them as well. Just like pictures on Facebook. This is helpful to get feedback from people. I'm trying to think of one that I actually have comments on, because I'm big for deleting them. Oh, I know. This is just one that I knew had comments on it. And if you look on the right-hand side, I can see the comment. Mindy, one of my coworkers, added a comment here, added low priority AMCP course, which we will release this fall. And as all know, when we're going to release that course, you're all highly anticipating. Well, AMCP is not changing, so. You can enter your own comments by clicking the enter a comment button. You can type in whatever comment. They're going to be like, why are you modifying your documents? I add the comment, and then it's there. I can also delete comments, and I can reply to people's comments. Yes, ma'am?
Is there a way to move these files in Box to SharePoint without downloading them and then uploading them? No? You mean that?
I mean that. Come on. The only way to share from Box is using the share button. You can either send a link to someone, you can either send the file itself, or you can embed it in a message in their collaborator. That's it. Now, that's not saying that your SharePoint administrator couldn't figure out a hack around. But they would have to go from SharePoint to Box and grab it versus telling Box to talk to SharePoint. Only because I know the technology behind it. I'm also the SharePoint instructor.
Are you?
Yes.
Can I have your card?
Yes, I have plenty of business cards. But that's a good question. SharePoint is Microsoft's answer to collaboration, and they have their collaborative workspace with SharePoint servers, and it's just so much more cumbersome for what the majority of our Box users need. There's just so much more to it. The service desk does use SharePoint as well for some things, but we've moved just about everything out into Box at this point. Any other questions? All right, and one other thing, tasks. How many of you use Outlook? You know your task list, your to-do list in Outlook? This is what I'm hoping for. I keep being told by Box it's going to happen. You can assign tasks to people in Box. I'm hoping eventually it will send out to your Outlook calendar. It's Microsoft product. Should be able to integrate well. Not yet. You can still assign the tasks. So if I click on assign a task, I have to specify who needs to complete the task. It has to be somebody that has access to the folder. So for example, if I decided to start typing Kate Kuhn's last name, it's going to be like, no. Well, we just saw Kate a little while ago, right? That's a different folder. She's not a collaborator, so she cannot be asked to complete a task. So if I wanted to ask, well, here, I'll pick Mindy because I know she's in there. I can start typing her last name, and then I can say, you need to do this task. Type in a description, and then I would click assign task. I'm not going to, here's why. Because she's sitting at her desk right now working frantically trying to finish our online courses, and if I do this, it's going to send her an email that says, Mandy Gagliardi wants you to do this in Box. And I don't need to confuse her right now, but it would send her an email, because these are live documents that she's currently working on. All right, well, we're just about at the end of our time, so I want to make certain that I open this up for any other questions that you might not have asked yet. Yes?
Sorry, I have to talk a lot today.
That's fine.
My boss uses Box a lot. He is an Apple fan, and he has Apple and Mac laptops, and he has a PC on his desktop, and he has an Apple phone. They don't always sync. He'll say, well, why did this document sync? Why didn't, I mean, if I send it to him, and he can open it on his phone, I'm satisfied that I've got it synced and given him permissions properly on my end. But he can open it on his phone, but maybe he can't get it on his desktop, or maybe he can't get it on his laptop or an iPad. Our help desk guys haven't been able to help him figure out why it goes to some and not others, why you can't get it from every place.
Your help desk guys, I have no idea who they
Right.
are, but they weren't part of the Box implementation. Box
Right.
is wholly supported by the OCIO.
Right.
So what I would recommend is, again, I hate doing this. I feel like I keep pawning you guys off on the help desk, but because it's Box Sync and I can't just do it for you right here, call them. When you have multiple devices that are accessing the same Box account, even from different platforms, there's too many variables for me to go, this is why. So what they'll do is they will sit with him and they will track down the different devices and see, maybe the desktop isn't set up to automatically synchronize and he thinks it is. So it's auto synchronizing to the account, but then the desktop is still working with local files. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that that's probably where the problem is, but the help desk would be able to narrow it down.
So I should have someone come to the office actually and.
Yes, yes, I would. I would say you've tried it on your own and your IT guys have tried it on their own and you really need someone to help. I'm not saying that they will send somebody out. Most often we remote to machines.
He should
Yes.
have it all in the office there when he comes.
Yes, you need everything together.
What is Link and will we be able to use it on Mac?
It's not about Buckeye Box. Link is a secondary application, has nothing to do with Box, but it is right now being released from the OCIO for instant messaging and presence only. It allows for instant messaging. But it also does allow for online collaboration. We can have meetings between people. I use Link 2013 on my computer. There's also Link 2010. Now, for the important part of your question, Mac. Yes, there is a Mac client for Link. It sucks. Sorry, I wrote all the documentation for it. It's not fantastic. It's great for instant messaging. It is great for maintaining presence. It is not great for meetings. If you want to have a meeting, use the web interface. And it actually pops open in the background. You just got to look for it. So if you click a link, a window in your Safari browser will pop up, and you've got to click that link instead of going through the link application. Yes?
So like Buckeye Box, so there's things that can be submitted on records.
Link is nothing is recorded in Link. Very few. Your conversations are archived. So anything that's instant messaged, I'm talking about meetings. The meetings themselves are not recorded. And that can actually be turned off.
You can adjust your settings to not save your conversations.
Correct. And that's new, actually. It used to be everything had to be.
And then we've also got a lot of these videos, but
Oh, that's awful. Now, some people can record in Link. I have superpowers, and I can record in Link, because I have to. I do training classes through Link. I prefer it over Adobe Connect. Yes, Jim?
I most recently used Box for an event. So we're sharing RCPs with another area, another building. The only way I knew how to keep, every day I would make sure I deleted the RCP Excel file in the box, and then I would upload my current. Is that box sync thing something that would have made that cleaner, or?
It would have bypassed the manually having to drag and drop. And that's all. Do the box sync or just drag and drop?
The box sync.
The box sync, well, what you would need to do is use the gear up at the top and just say get box sync, and you could attempt to configure and set it up on your own. I don't recommend it. I recommend downloading it, but calling the service desk and saying, I'm installing sync.
Okay, but there's no way to do that consistently one file.
No, not without box sync. You know what, if I was in your position, that's all I would do. Just, I have a new copy, drag and drop. You don't even have to delete, just drag and drop. And that way you've got the versioning. So you'd have all the versions in one place. Yes?
You mentioned when an employee leaves university that you lock down their box. If they had been collaborating with the rest of the team, does the rest of the team still have nothing?
Oh,
They have
bummer.
Nothing. It's gone. So you do need to keep that in mind. That doesn't mean we can't get it back. We can. We don't delete out of box. We restrict access. What that means is your ability to get into it is just disabled. Because you're the owner, that means nobody else can get into it either, unless they're a co-owner of the folder. So that's why having a co-owner would be helpful. But we recommend that if somebody is leaving your department and you know it ahead of time, make certain that they make you an owner of the folder. You can contact IT Service Desk though and ask and put in a request for files to be moved. All right, well, I want to thank everybody very much for coming in. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And please, if you have any other questions, see me before you leave. And I do have business cards.